Good afternoon. Well, welcome to the Seminole Campus at St. Pete College. I'm Provost Strickland. It's always a pleasure to have groups like you all here today to do what is important, which is the work of the day, which is the Wastewater Stormwater Task Force. So real quick, before I exit stage left, I want to tell you, you guys probably know this, but we recently announced the hiring of a president, Dr. Tanja Williams, who will begin her tenure July 3rd, and then promptly take the next day off because it's the 4th. So she'll need that day off actually to recuperate from the whirlwind that is the presidency of SPC. And so my message really is this. She is interested in meeting groups like you all, our elected officials, and in the near future, she's going to host a gathering of several folks, including many of you that are here today. And so that was the message that she asked me to get out to you all as you get started in today's work. So with that being said, again, welcome to the Seminole Campus, and I have the opportunity to welcome up Commissioner Justice. Thank you.
Thanks. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
You excited to be here?
Yeah. Yeah, this is great.
There we go.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. We appreciate you taking time to hear an important update. This is our third countywide Wastewater Stormwater Task Force meeting, and I do want to acknowledge St. Petersburg College and Provost Mark Strickland for his hospitality. He and his staff have been incredible about making the space available, making the technology available to make our meeting successful. Before I get any further, I know we have a lot of electeds in the room, and we'll recognize some at some point throughout the afternoon, but I do want to take a point of personal privilege and recognize my colleague, Commissioner Dave Eggers, who's in the back. Dave, thank you for being here. As many of you know, the Wastewater Stormwater Task Force is a collaborative effort among the county, cities, and agency partners to define and better understand our countywide wastewater and stormwater issues. Our task force is made up of a steering committee and a technical working group. The members of our steering committee include representatives of the county, our 17 municipalities, community organizations, and the investor-owned utilities. Our technical working group includes technical experts representing each of these communities or agencies. I would like to take a moment to provide a brief overview of what we've accomplished since the task force formed in October last year. As key leaders in our community, our focus on the task force is based on three guiding principles: avoid and mitigate spills, overflows, and the release of sewage into the environment, particularly water bodies. Increase the capacity and resiliency of collective sewer system and wastewater treatment infrastructure. And to seek opportunities to address drainage and stormwater issues that impact our sewer system. At our initial meeting in October, the task force was asked to identify solutions that could be implemented on both a short-term and long-term basis, as well as ways to alleviate emergency situations. In January, the task force was presented with the technical work group's initial action plan, which included analysis of the events that led to the overflow situation during Hurricane Hermine. Recommended approaches were provided to avoid future sanitary sewer overflows, including increasing wastewater treatment capacity at appropriate levels, increasing wastewater storage capacity at appropriate levels, reducing inflow and infiltration of stormwater and groundwater into the separate sanitary sewer system. The technical working group merged these three solutions into a cohesive plan of action, and today we'll be providing updates. They will have updates about the specific projects that have been completed and or are underway that address the goals of our plan. I want to extend my gratitude and compliments to our task force, who made it a priority to set aside time amid busy schedules. This is on top of the daily work that they're doing anyway, to come together to form this task force and to the goals and efforts in there. It is because of these individuals in the audience today that we're able to better meet the needs of our community with confidence. Please let's take a moment to recognize our steering committee and technical working group. First, if our steering committee members would stand to be recognized. Steering committee, mayors, policymakers, thank you very much for being here, and thank you for your efforts and leadership. It's kind of like a wedding, Mayor Kreisman. It's, technical to the left, steering to the right when you're coming in. Also, if you're on the technical work group, would you please stand to be recognized? Today we have the privilege of hearing from 5 of our technical working group members on progress updates of the action plan. We will review and discuss what is presented and chart the course to continue moving forward in this important undertaking. And today at this time, I'd like to introduce our technical working group presenters for this afternoon. Irvin Ketty, the Environmental Services Director for the City of Largo. Claude Tankersley, the Public Works Administrator for the City of St. Petersburg. Raheem Harji, the Public Works Director for Pinellas County. Bill Logan, the Public Works Communication Manager for the City of St. Petersburg. And Randy Kim, Utilities Director for Pinellas County. And I'll turn it over to our task force now. Thank you.
Good afternoon. It's always a pleasure to be at St. Petersburg College, particularly the Seminole Campus. If you're new to the Seminole Campus, at some point you should take a walk around the campus and take a look at their facilities. You'll be very impressed at what they have here and what they do with what they have. You've heard just a moment ago the goals. So today I'm going to give you just a quick rundown of what you're going to hear. The goals have been reviewed. We'll talk just a moment about the initial action plan, the progress to date, long-term actions, and then what are our next steps. This is not a short-term effort. This is a long-term effort by each of the utilities. This is not something that occurred over the last year or 2 or 3 years. These things develop over the life cycle of sewer systems, pipes, pumps, sewer plants, pump stations, and it's not going to take 6 months to a year to fix everything or to put programs in place so they don't deteriorate as fast. It's going to be a long-term commitment, but much has been accomplished. You heard the three task force goals that were set last January, and we did a kickoff meeting last January for those of you who were not here at that time that identified these goals. So when we take a look at what we're doing on the large scope, that those of us who live in Pinellas County, lived here a long time, we know that water is our life and our livelihood. Sewage overflows and stormwater issues discharge to our waters and have for many years. And that can be detrimental to public health, to property values, to the environment, and also to economic growth, economic opportunities, jobs, businesses moving into our area, businesses wanting to stay in our area. And so we need to recognize that with this slide you see in front of you around the circle. It's kind of, I look at it as kind of like a spider web. You ever watch a spider on a spider web when something flies into it? If you push on any one part of that spider web, everything else on the spider web is impacted. So if any one of these is ignored, it's going to impact all the other parts around that circle. So it's important to address all of these aspects of water needs, particularly in terms of stormwater and wastewater utility impacts and activities. And here are the key points. The first key point is implementing targeted system capacity projects that will reduce overflows, we're talking about sewage overflows in this case, in the short term. So there are things that we can do that are easily to identify, small, get to it, not big cost, and can solve some problems. When you do it across the county of all these utilities, that's a lot of water not getting into the sewer systems if we can keep it out. We can accelerate inflow and infiltration identification and mitigation projects that will reduce sewer overflows. Now, for those of you who may be new, inflow is water that's on the surface of the land that makes its way into the sewer lines. And infiltration is groundwater that's leaking into the sewer lines. To give you some idea, May 15th, still in the dry season, not a lot of rain before then, at the City of Largo, our wastewater plant, the 24-hour flow for one day on the 15th was 8 million gallons that day. Remember the first few storms that we had? Shortly after those storms, a month later, we're at 14 million gallons. You can do the math. You can subtract one number from the other. It's a lot of rainwater getting into our system. And we spend a lot of time, as everybody else does, in trying to keep that from happening. So there's a lot of work to be done. Integrating stormwater and sewer projects to increase the resiliency of our infrastructure will reduce the overflows and save money in the long run. Stormwater and wastewater, they're related. You can't take care of one without the other. If you try to do that, if you only do one, then you will not have a successful result. We have to address both issues. Funding, legislation, public participation is needed to support these outcomes. The public is an important player here. The public uses these utilities, the stormwater utility as well as the wastewater utility, and how they use it impacts what can happen in terms of backing up water or letting water flow freely, both in a stormwater system as well as in a sewer system. So these photographs, some of these you've seen, some of them are new, but the one in the bottom right-hand corner is a picture of a television picture. We put television cameras into the sewer lines, and they're on little tractors or ways of move down the sewer lines to inspect sewer lines. And this is a picture of a sewer line that's been lined. It's like a PVC liner that we can put in. Technology lets us do this. The city, Pinellas County is embarking on lining very large sewer lines called interceptors. They're the main trunk lines that bring the sewage to their sewer plants. Other utilities have done that. Others will do that as well. That will help keep water out of that doesn't belong in the sewer lines where it belongs. The picture just above it in the top right is the city of St. Petersburg. It's at a wastewater treatment facility. This is showing their disc filters and their injection well. Their disc filters are towards the end of the treatment process that polishes up that water and takes out more of the solids that may not have been settled out during the earlier process. And the injection well has been a long and successful disposal program for the city of St. Petersburg, and they are expanding on that program. You'll hear more about that shortly. The picture in the middle is the city of Clearwater. That's their influent pumping station, influent the sewage that's going into the plant. During Hermine, they had a catastrophic issue with one of their facilities, and they have taken major steps to resolve that, to put in temporary systems, and they have the equipment and the contracts in place, I understand, to move forward in rebuilding a new system there. And the picture to the left is a large tank, looks kind of like a wedding cake. It's the City of Largo Wastewater Reclamation Facility, and that is a 5 million gallon tank. That's the beginning of the treatment process. So when these large flows come into the plant, you can take the peak flow off and put it into that 5 million gallon tank, and when the flows decrease, you can pump that water out and treat it in the wastewater plant, which means we can pump more water to the plant faster and get it away from the overflow areas of the city that are most at risk. With that, I'm going to turn this over to Claude Tankersley. Claude is the Public Works Administrator for the City of St. Petersburg.
Thank you, Irvin. I appreciate it. It's my pleasure to be up here today, mainly because of the opportunity to work collaboratively with the other municipalities in the county. And I've learned from them and they've learned from us. And so what we want to do here today is to share with you what we've learned and what we've accomplished so far. Irv showed you some photographs of some of the things we've accomplished, and I'm going to be giving you a little bit more information. But for this list you see right here, there's two things I want to point out to you. The first one, it says initial. And I want to highlight on what Irv said. Irv said that this is something that is an ongoing, and we're going to have to continue it permanently. And so what we're sharing with you today is just our initial action plan. But we will be coming to you with long-term action plans and to continue this collaboration. I'm going to be speaking specifically to items number 1, 2, 3, and 5. And then we're going to have Raheem from the county talk about stormwater. Bill Logan is going to talk about the public dialogue, and that's a very important part of this campaign. And then finally, Randy is going to be talking to you about local ordinances and other legislative issues that are associated with this. But on this list, you'll notice that the timeline goes through 2018. So we will be continuing this beyond 2018. Inflow and infiltration, that has been the big issue. That is what has caused, for the most part, much of the problems that we experienced last summer. And we have been aggressively, as a team, collaboratively, working on trying to figure out where we're having problems with inflow and infiltration and how to deal with it. And one of the best ways to do that is to install flow meters into your system. So as a team, as a group, we have installed over 163 flow meters throughout our system to measure the flows in the pipes during our rain events. So how is doing this different than doing a smoke test? Because some people have said, well, you know, smoke tests are a good tool, and yes, they are. But smoke tests don't always tell you everything you need to know. For instance, a smoke test might tell you where you have a break, but it might not tell you how important that break is. Because a break in a manhole or in a pipe that is never submerged by groundwater and is in a high elevation, you're not going to have a problem with inflow or infiltration from that break, but you might find it from a smoke test. This kind of flow measurement, while it's more expensive, takes a little bit longer, is very intensive with data, it tells you exactly where we're having problems with inflow and infiltration. But these flow monitoring studies must be conducted when you're having the wet weather events. So for instance, for infiltration, we have to do these flow monitorings during the summer when the groundwater levels are higher than normal. And then for the inflow, which is, as Irv explained, is the flow of the water directly from the surface into the system, we've got to do these flow monitorings during an actual storm. You can't do a smoke test during an actual storm. You can't do a smoke test when the groundwater is high because the groundwater will keep the smoke from coming out. So that's why we're focusing on these flow monitoring programs, because while they are more expensive, they give us the data we need. We've also been trying to do some of the, in addition to gathering data that we need for long-term plans, we've been trying to handle and take care of the short-term, low-hanging fruit type issues. And one of those is hydraulic bottlenecks in our system. So our systems have been constructed over 100 years in a piecemeal fashion. So you might start with a system that served a downtown area, and then as communities would come in, suburbans would add on, the system would be added on to over time. And so a system that was designed to handle the downtown might have been designed with pipes that maybe 8 inches in diameter, maybe 10. But then as you expand out and you're providing more flow into that system, now those pipes might be too small. Or another thing that may happen, you may have a situation where during an event, perhaps a break in a line, the maintenance staff may not have had the right size pipe, and they needed to get a pipe in the ground. And so we've seen situations where we've discovered you've got a 12-inch pipe, and all of a sudden where there was a break, somebody had stuck in an 8-inch pipe just to get the pipe in the ground. And so these bottlenecks, what they cause is they cause a backup in your system similar to a blocked up artery. And we've got to go in there and fix those and get them out. These bottlenecks can be the main contributor to the sanitary sewer overflows that occur in your neighborhoods and occur in the streets. And that's the last place we want them to occur. And so our team members have been very aggressively working to take care of these bottlenecks, get them out of the way, and to help relieve those pressure points. Finally, we've got the rehabilitation and replacement of the aging infrastructure. And I want to kind of give you some statistics that I hope you can take away from what we've accomplished. So in the past fiscal year, and our fiscal year begins October 1st. So since October 1st, less than a year ago, as a team, we have spent over $130 million on dealing with this issue. We have lined 270,000 linear feet of pipeline. That's over 51 miles of pipe that we as a team have lined. We have installed 5,600 manhole rain trays. We have rehabilitated 2,000 manholes, and we have rehabilitated 57 lift stations. In addition, Largo, he showed you the photograph of their new equalization tank. Tarpon Springs has replaced a primary gravity main that was causing them some problems. Clearwater has built their new their new influent lift station at their Marshall Street plant. Pinellas County has replaced a 42-inch, that's big, that's a big pipe, a 42-inch force main to the William E. Dunn Water Reclamation Facility. And finally, in St. Pete, we are in the process of putting in 3 new injection wells and 6 new filters. All of these projects were fast-tracked to get done in the last 9 months. This is a significant amount of work that your utilities have been doing to try to make sure that we address this problem and we don't have these kind of overflows again. Finally, I want to talk about resource sharing and maximization. So even though we are separate utilities, we can work together to maximize our effectiveness by sharing resources, either resources that we own or resources that we contract out. So I mentioned earlier that over the past 9 months, we have lined about 51 miles of pipe. Well, the companies that do these pipelining, there's not a whole lot of them. It's not like you can find 10 or 20 or 50 of them in the phone book and say, hey, can you come and line this pipe? They are a very specialized company that do this work and do only this work. And so therefore, we are constantly in competition with each other in other areas of the state and other areas of the company to get the work, to get the contractors to come in and do this work for us. And so if we as a team collaborate on these contracts, and so that I don't go to the contractor and say, hey, I've got 100,000 linear feet for me, can you do that? Instead, we go to them as a team and say, hey, we've got 250,000 linear feet as a team, can you do that? And that entices them to put us on their priority list rather than maybe Miami or Jacksonville. They come here and do the work for us at good rates. And so we're looking at these kind of opportunities that we can share and be more effective as a team. So now I'm going to turn it over to Raheem to talk to you about how we're incorporating stormwater into the wastewater. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. So, like Claude and Irv mentioned earlier, this is not just a wastewater issue. Stormwater and groundwater are a big contributor to the problem. So what we was we got the stormwater folks at the table too. We didn't just focus on what could we do from the wastewater utility side. We also talked about what stormwater improvements we could do. So I'm going to go through a couple of things that we identified as a team that we should work on, and just a quick summary of some of the items. The first thing we all decided needed to be in a shared central repository was, where is all our stuff? Where is your wastewater main lines? Where is your stormwater infrastructure? So that's one of the key things we started working on. The second thing we did was we came up with this really unique project where, the inflow, which is one of the contributors to the problem, is primarily from stormwater. So where do these areas that flood, where are they? So we have data. We have floodplains, we have hotspots, we have all this data all over the place. Why don't we just overlay it on the wastewater system? What does it look like? Let's identify those points of conflict. So we're currently working on that project. We have a scope that's probably going to be due from a consultant by the end of this month, and we should be able to kick off the project in July. And I'll get into more details about the specific project. And one of the big issues was money. Obviously, money is an issue, and we had, the county had submitted a proposal for some restore grant funding, which we got about $1 million to do this type of work. So we're splitting the work between some flow monitoring and this stormwater wastewater project. And then in the long term, we can fix the problems we have now, but what about 50 years from now? What about 60 years from now? What is our, what are our communities going to look like? So we started talking about sea level rise and what will it impact our wastewater system and stormwater system. So I'll get into that a little bit more. But one of the key things that we did was we adopted a county stormwater manual. The stormwater manual is unique in a way that it actually looks at future conditions when you design a stormwater system. So again, looking at sea level rise and these future conditions, that's factored in there. So here are the pretty pictures. So on your left is just a draft map of our wastewater pipes. Those are a lot of lines, and I know it's a little difficult to see, but that's kind of the point. We have stuff all over the place, and you may see some communities that don't have any data on them, but they actually have data. We have all the data now. But some of the information is on paper maps like you see on the left. They're not in a GIS format. So one of the first things we're going to do is put it in a GIS format so we can do the next steps of this effort where we can overlay the two systems. The other important part about this is we need to know where our floodplains are. Where are these areas that flood under a 100-year storm event, which was pretty much what we got last year, under a 25-year event? Where are these problem hotspot areas that you might just have minor roadway flooding, but the flooding in the roadway gets into the sanitary sewer manhole? And then again, you know, just a heavy effort on digitizing all this information into a GIS format. This is basically what it looks like. We did a rough in-house project just to see if this is a feasible project. And basically, it might be a little hard to see, but you have red dots and yellow dots, and you have floodplains. Basically, everywhere you have a red dot is where under a 100-year storm, that manhole gets flooded. And then under the yellow dots are under a 25-year storm, so a smaller storm. Now, again, I apologize, it's not that easy to see, but on this map, there are green dots as well. Those green dots are all the manholes. So it kind of gives you a perspective of how we can target those areas and not necessarily just take care of the sanitary sewer issue. We can move the floodplain. We can get it off of the system and turn those red dots into green dots. This is something more of a long-term effort that we're working on. These are very rough draft maps more detailed maps that we put together of what are the different projections of sea level rise. We put together this really cool planning tool where projects over $1 million can go through this whole planning process, and you can see what you have to take into account as far as future conditions when you design your project. You don't want to spend a significant amount of money and 50 years later it doesn't work. So this is something that's part of our long-term efforts. And that's all I got. I'm going to turn it over to Bill from the City of St. Pete.
Well, thanks very much. Public dialogue, that's what we're going to talk about. I'm used to a public dialogue of sorts. For the past several years, I've been standing out in the rain or in front of spaghetti models. And the basic message that I had all those times were, conditions are deteriorating. Fortunately, that's not what we're having to talk about now. As we look to increase our public dialogue, we've got public information officers, communications managers like myself, and other stakeholders within our working group have started meeting and discussing how we can best coordinate our efforts to get the word out. And as you look around this room, there's less than 100 people here. We're the ones who are keenly interested in this. But getting the word out to the rest of the people in Pinellas County is a challenge. Back in the day, it used to be TV. Everybody watched TV. People don't watch TV anymore. They're on all sorts of different platforms. They're into social media. The news comes to them. They expect that. So we've got to help create and craft a really good message that we can hit on a lot of different platforms. So I have good news for you that just within the last 24 hours, this practically qualifies as breaking news. We have set plans now for, wait for it, the Summer Sewer Summit. Let that sink in. It's nice. And that's what we're going to be talking about as we invite the local media out to the Largo wastewater facility so that they can get some firsthand eyeballing with a project that is coming online. As a matter of fact, the date that we're looking to have this, July 18th, is the date that they're looking to have the project, am I right, Irv? Completed. So this is going to be sort of breaking news that they're going to go online with this right as we have this media event. The coordination is key. We're also going to have other municipalities, the real folks who are out in the trenches, real workers, and what they're working on, showing how all of the different municipalities within Pinellas County have been able to come up with the rain pans or with the liners for the pipes or ways that we can help, you know, use those best practices and share with each other and share that knowledge across jurisdictional lines. The figures that Claude just read out, I wrote them down again. 270,000 linear feet over the past year. That's impressive. That's countywide. That's a lot of area that's been covered. And we need to keep telling people that we are doing this, and we're doing a good job of this, and we're doing it together. We're sharing a drone within our municipalities over the next couple of weeks so that we can get some good footage, aerial footage of what's going on, the different construction projects all over. That's just what we're doing on the media side. So we're sharing, we're continuing to share within this working group and across the Pinellas County, which, by the way, we're going to start calling this the Wastewater Stormwater Partnership Pinellas, because we're kind of rebranding a task force. We're not done with this. We're continuing to move on, and we're continuing to make progress on a lot of different fronts. So this is going to continue, as mentioned, past the 2018 and end of term. We're going to keep moving on this. The press event and the subsequent media messaging is going to be with all of our information initiatives like you see here. We've got the collateral. We've got rolling billboards. We put out publications and news media alerts on things such as finding non-flushables that haven't flushed. So we're going to talk about the condition and limitations of the wastewater and stormwater infrastructure across the county, reminding folks to eliminate fats, oils, grease, and the non-flushables, keeping stormwater and sanitary sewer connections separate. A lot of folks don't even know that they're separate systems, wastewater and stormwater. So we've got to start almost at that basic level of education. Of course, the biggest element of news that we're looking to bring forth over the next several weeks and months, and we've already got these releases ready to go, is that there is no discharges. We want to be able to bring that news to the residents of our community. And right now, that's looking good because, like I said, I don't have to say it this time, conditions are not deteriorating, and we've got a really good story to tell. Continuing our story, continuing moving forward, Randy Kim has our next steps as we progress down this road.
Thanks, Bill. And as it relates to public dialogue, one of the messages that we want to continue to get out there to our customers, our residents, is they have some responsibility to help us manage the system as well. As you all know, the private lateral, the private sewer connection between the house or the commercial business and the utility main line is the responsibility of that owner. So we definitely want to get messaging and education out there to tell people about what the responsibility is and how they can maintain their own sewer connection. But we also need some legislation as well. So what we did within the technical working group, we invited our legal partners, our city and county legal counselors, to discuss how we might be able to develop a countywide ordinance that would help us better regulate those private sewer systems and private laterals. And so what we've developed conceptually is a draft countywide ordinance that would allow us, the utilities, to both inspect and enforce replacing any failing laterals. So just a few concepts around that. And I do want to acknowledge Michael Dima, the attorney from the city of St. Petersburg, who led our discussion, as well as all of the respective city and county attorneys that participated in this. So there are really 5 components to an ordinance, and there are a couple cities that already have ordinances in place to be able to inspect private sewer systems, but none of us have ordinances in place currently that allow us to inspect private laterals. So the first aspect is, and I'm not an attorney, I'm an engineer, so please forgive me if I'm speaking legal speak out of turn, but the first aspect is an affirmative duty on the homeowner to maintain and replace their failing private sewer lateral, backed by a prohibition on stormwater or inflow and infiltration entering the sanitary sewer. Because as you know, as we've explained in prior sessions, the sanitary sewer and the storm sewer are separate systems, and they really need to be maintained separately. And then secondly, a clear objective standard for what constitutes a breach. So we do want a data-based driven standard, and so that's clearly laid out. And then an inspection regime that is compliant with the Fourth Amendment and relevant Florida law. So our attorneys want to make sure that we dot all the I's and cross all the T's with respect to making sure that we have legal basis for inspection. And data-driven approach to identifying priority areas. As we've heard in the earlier slides, there are some areas through flow monitoring we're going to identify that have high inflow and infiltration, and we want to be able to target those areas, or potentially target areas based on the age of the homes. We know the older homes, if they have not replaced their private laterals, typically have older failing laterals. So we want to be able to use those data-driven analysis to be able to target areas. That'll give us the most bang for our buck. And then incentives and penalties. You know, obviously we know this is an expensive proposition for homeowners to replace a lateral. And so we do want to be able to offer some incentive programs, assistance programs, and enforcement programs. So as Bill and others have said, this has been a great team effort, great collaboration, but we're definitely not done. Our initial action plan that we presented last January, we've made a lot of progress. We feel like we've done some good work, but there's still a lot of work to be done. So each of those 7 task categories that we identified have some long-term actions that we want to continue to work on through our partnership. And as we get data back from our flow monitoring, we're going to be identifying areas that we can target for inflow and infiltration reduction. We're going to continue to look at these bottleneck issues. Many of us have employed not only flow monitoring, but also modeling to be able to identify where those pinch points might occur. But that's an ongoing effort that we're going to continue to have to maintain our systems. Rehabilitation and replacement programs. Obviously, the age of a system doesn't stay stagnant, so that's something that we have to continue to invest in our infrastructure year after year to make sure that we're maintaining it in good working order. And many of us are employing asset management tools to be able to help us prioritize based on condition and age and the potential consequence of a failure of our system components, to be able to prioritize areas that really need attention in short term. And then ongoing stormwater projects, as well as our ongoing resource sharing and collaboration and public dialogue. So we're hoping within the next couple months that we'll have a draft ordinance for consideration. It is something that we want to develop countywide, so all of our residents are taking advantage of the same rules and guidance. So we hope to have that in front of you for consideration here in the short term. So the next steps, although we were tasked as a task force to focus on some immediate actions to prepare for this storm season, we do want to continue the long-term collaboration across the county. We do see a tremendous benefit working together, and we would propose getting back together with the steering committee in January following this storm season. By January, I think we'll have a lot more data to share with you and also be able to present how we did. How did we do this storm? Were some of those capacity improvement projects, some of the bottlenecks that we've removed, have they helped? We're really hoping we'll be able to show some market improvements, but also have additional data to show you where we need to invest next. And this graph I shared with you last January, and it really represents that we have to continue to work on reducing our inflow and infiltration down to a reasonable level, improve our system capacity, but we don't want to build out a very large system that would be underutilized in the future. So these are two prongs that we need to work on in parallel. And over the next 6 months and over the next few years, we hope to get to that point where there's a good balance between inflow and infiltration reduction and having resiliency and capacity in our systems. So just to recap some of the key points, Pinellas County is in better shape this storm season. Through the work of the task force and our collaboration, our partnership, we do feel that we're much better prepared to avoid and mitigate sanitary sewer overflows as a result of some of those targeted system capacity projects and accelerating our efforts towards inflow and infiltration reduction. The efforts of integrating stormwater and sewer infrastructure planning is going to reap a lot of benefits. I think the work that Rahim has led and the collaboration across our public works and our utilities has been invaluable. So I think we'll see a lot more synergy, a lot more bang for our buck, where we can propose infrastructure projects that will be able to address not only sanitary sewer overflows, but improving drainage and flooding issues in certain neighborhoods. And what we're asking you as our steering committee is continued support. We do appreciate and recognize all of the funding and support that you have provided. That's going to be an ongoing effort, of course. And supporting the legislation and public participation programs that we're recommending to you today. So with that, I'd like to turn it back over to Commissioner Justice to facilitate the question and answers.
Before we get into the question and answer, I do want to recognize officially our elected officials, and I want to start with Councilman Quinn from the City of Seminole. Thank you for your hospitality. We appreciate you being here. From the City of St. Petersburg, we have Mayor Kreisman and Councilwoman Foster. The City of Clearwater, we have Mayor Credikus and Council members Bob Cundiff, Hoyt Hamilton, and Bill Johnson. Thank you very much for being here. As well as the Mayor of Tarpon Springs, Mayor Alhusas. Thank you very much for being here. We also have a lot of administrators and engineers, and we thank you for taking the time to be here as well. We appreciate it. Watching, I hope that you share the same kind of growing confidence after hearing from our panel today that I do. I think this has the potential. Hopefully what we wanted to do when we set up this task force was, obviously the steering committee, and we have the policymakers and the politicians that will make those funding decisions that we talked about are important. But we wanted to get out of the way. We wanted to have the technical experts provide the basis of any decisions moving forward. Because we hear a lot in the media, we hear a lot of the stories, and it becomes this great big problem, and sometimes it can become too big. But when we break it down, we start getting into the actual technical aspects, I think we see that we have ways to tackle each part of this problem and to do it in a very effective way. So I'm incredibly confident, and hopefully this potentially has the ability to be an example of how our community can come together to solve and tackle other problems as well. With that, I would like to open up the floor to questions. If you have questions, please come to the center of the aisle there, and if you have any questions for our task force panelists today.
Just that when you do the ordinance, we all kind of hold back because we don't want to upset the voters of the city that we live in. But all of us are responsible. Every time we flush our toilet, we're responsible for the outcome, what happens at that sewer plant. If we destroy, if we put the wrong things in there, if we have our stormwater lines hooked up to our sewer lines, we're creating a problem for that sewer plant. So when we make the ordinance, when you just write the ordinance, keep that in mind, that they are responsible for taking care of that sewer plant. It's something that's owned by all of us, just as the roads are. Our dumpsters are the same way. If you put burning embers in your dumpster, you create a fire, you're responsible for that. So you're creating problems for the sewer plants if you don't do or don't keep out what you're supposed to keep out. That's all. Thank you.
Mr. Logan, do you want to comment on that? That's kind of part of the public education part of it.
Really, we have to get all the way back to the basics, I think, with a lot of our customers. Folks really need to be reminded that flushables aren't necessarily flushable wipes. You know, throwing cigarette butts into the toilet, it comes out in the screens at the headworks, and that's where things get clogged up and can get clogged up in the whole sewer system. So just the education, letting people come into the plants, letting them see exactly what this process is and isn't, I think is important so that everybody understands their role in making sure that we can all thrive and survive and move forward with all of this water around us.
Ms. Kim, did you want to, he kind of delved into the ordinance drafting, and you want to respond or comment?
Yes, absolutely. I think we definitely want to have an education component to the ordinance, obviously, but we do need to be able to communicate the responsibilities of these private sewer systems and the private laterals from homes and businesses. You know, we can do a lot of inspection and we can do enforcement, but ultimately it is the responsibility of the owner to manage their property. And you know, I think the ordinance will allow us to be able to help communicate that information, but it will require both legislation and education.
Anyone else on the panel? Commissioner, yes, if I may. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. So why is this important? Why is it important that we collaborate with the private laterals? Studies throughout the United States have shown that the private laterals contribute anywhere from 30 to 70% of the inflow and infiltration. So if you take the average of 30 to 70, that's 50%. So let's just say, for argument's sake, that within Pinellas County, half of the inflow and infiltration is coming from the private laterals. We as government and municipalities and utilities, we can go in and fix all our systems to the point where they are completely leak-free, and we've only taken care of half the problem. So that's why it's really important that we educate the public, plus also find ways to work with them, incentivize them to take care of their issues, so that as a group, we are better off in the end.
Further questions? We've got 2 microphones out there.
I'm Keith Fogarty with the City of Dunedin Public Works. Along the same lines as public education, I've been with the city for close to 40 years. Do a lot of public works training. Task Force is fantastic. It's probably something long overdue. Unfortunately, it took the storms to do it. With the public education component, don't lose sight of our public or Pinellas County school system. You know, taking this to the kids is also something that we should, because this is not something that's going to go away.
Very good points.
Thank you. Bill Johnson, City of Clearwater. Question is, What has the task force come up with a standard for notification of elected officials, city management, and the public? Are there different levels for overflows that occur either through accident, pipe breakage, whatever? Is there a standard for that?
I think that's going to be a state, but I will turn it to the experts over here.
Yes, absolutely. As you may know, we were subject to an emergency pollution notification requirement, which was challenged. So the legislation, the state legislation just issued new legislation on pollution notification requirements, and that goes into effect July 1. And the state of Florida Department of Environmental Protection will be the conduit for notification to the media as well as elected officials or any interested parties. So we as utilities, when we have a spill or an overflow, will be required to report into a centralized repository via a website of the spill, and that information will then be disseminated through a web-based tool that the Florida Department of Environmental Protection Agency will manage. So they will notify elected officials, the media. You can sign up for it. Any interested parties can sign up for it. So that will be a common conduit that'll make it a lot easier for all of us to be able to communicate effectively and efficiently.
Absolutely.
But we also recognize that society has changed and our way of communication has changed. And as Bill mentioned earlier, it used to be that all of us would see the same television newscast at night, and so we all got the same information at the same time in the same way, but that's not the case anymore. And so what you have seen and what you see up here is that the municipalities and the utilities have recognized that we've got to communicate to people the way they want to be communicated to. So we are moving forward with campaigns through Twitter, Facebook, Nextdoor. We're working together to put together these flyers that Bill showed you earlier to try to get the word out. Collaboratively as a group, we can help get public service announcements out on the TV. We have talked also about the schools, the importance of the school systems. And so I believe that all of us, Commissioner, will continue to follow not only the letter of the requirement for public notification, but the spirit of it, and make sure that we are notifying our elected officials, our customers, and the public on a real-time basis.
Further questions?
Jill Silverboard, City of Clearwater. Question about the stormwater side. Has the task force discussed those stormwater utility systems that are in place in the county? And if so, do they have a role to play as a set of solutions on managing the stormwater, primarily the runoff pieces? I think Raheem had a slide earlier that showed the green side was the sanitary sewer. I'm guessing the blue side was stormwater utility infrastructure, but I could be wrong about that. So just curious about whether there's any interest in more of a countywide or a systematic approach. Some of us have had stormwater utilities in place for a long, long time, very robust, that I know the county's relatively new to that part of the game. I'd just like to hear the task force comment on that.
Sure. We did not specifically talk about a countywide stormwater utility. However, we did really talk about all of these efforts that we're currently partnering in. For example, when we do watershed management plans. So watershed management plans go into a whole stormwater watershed, figure out what the problems are, which is flooding, water quality, and that's our avenue to partner, because watersheds don't have municipal boundaries, and it may start out in Clearwater and end up in Pinellas County. So our goal was, let's focus on those watershed management plans as our stormwater planning tools. There's the whole other side of the maintenance and all the operations, which with the county having a stormwater fee now, we've gotten much better at putting resources towards that, and our partnership has increased. But we've decided that watershed management plans, which is an avenue we work through already today, was the best way to coordinate that.
And I can tell you that when the county implemented the surface water fee a few years ago, I remember the dialogue on the commission at the time was that we were so far behind the 16 cities that already had the fee and were doing programming that we kind of wanted to catch up a little bit before we started talking about that countywide. So that was some of the dialogue at the time. Next question.
I guess it's more of a comment. My name is Jim Lounsbury. I'm with a contracting firm, and kind of we represent a firm that handles the whole United States in a sense. We work in 40 states on any given day. But I want to commend the task force. Number one, I think this probably sounds like a model. We work for a lot of large municipalities across the country. And I got to be honest with you, to see a group of people that have acted this quickly and solved problems this fast, that really is a testament to the group. And I'm not sure who formulated it, but you've done a great job. Some just comments that I may make is obviously there's been questions about whether smoke testing and or flow monitoring, but in my mind that flow monitoring is critical because it quantifies the amount of infiltration you have. The smoke testing in essence is a low-cost test that you can use to pinpoint where then you want to go further and do the rehabilitation. So the smoke testing, the flow monitoring on the front end is huge because now that you've spent the money and you've lined 250,000 feet of pipe, you'll do a post-rehabilitation flow monitoring, which will actually quantify the reductions that you've seen. The flow is also critical because you're paying taxpayer dollars to treat that clean water. And that is also a dollar value that part of your metrics you want to bring to the public's attention that says, all the money we're spending will eventually be a cost savings for the communities that you live in. And hopefully that can also stabilize rates or bring the rates down. So, again, you've done a tremendous job. It's very fun sitting here. But I guess one thing I didn't hear brought into the mix is home inspections potentially and also sump pumps. Have you done anything to address that? There's so many communities that are contending with that. Tremendous amount of infiltration. If you've got inflow getting into your sewer systems, chances are they're getting into the basements as well. And there are sump pumps that are illegally discharging into your infrastructures. It's a political hot potato that a lot of communities don't want to deal with. I work with communities that know where every sump pump is. They have capacity at their treatment plants, and they are not going to address the issue with the homeowners until they have a capacity issue with the plants. So maybe something you want to look into is the sump pumps as well. And to the point that your graph showing the consideration with infiltration and capacity there, and the point you did bring up, obviously, Randy, I think it was the fact of communities that have gone through the process of reducing so much I&I start to see the impact at the plant with reduced flows at the plant, but also increased deterioration of their infrastructure, which I don't know that EPA or DEP or the local regulating agencies understand that. We do quite a bit of work on infrastructure that is being heavily deteriorated by hydrogen sulfide because of a longer residence time of sewage sitting in the pipes to get to the plants. So all the good work you do, there's going to be a potential downside that you got to keep an eye on as well. But I just want to say hats off. It's a lot of fun sitting here. Thank you.
We appreciate you being here. Any response from the panel? Want to tackle the basement issue?
Yeah.
No? All right.
But Commissioner, if I may, the point you bring up about unintended consequences, absolutely. That is unfortunately always the case. And so we are looking at the unintended consequences of, it's kind of like a balloon. You know how when you squeeze a balloon, you squeeze it here, but it blows up over here. And we're trying to keep our eye on that to make sure that we're addressing it.
Mr. Ketty?
Yes, thank you. You brought up an interesting point about hydrogen sulfide, and for those here who aren't familiar with the utility business, when you go out and buy a car, and you pay, let's say you buy, I don't know what let's say you buy a car and it's $22,000 new, and that, you should be able to get a life cycle, let's say 120,000 miles out of the car easy, which could be a lot of years, right? But you got to maintain that from the day you buy it. If you don't, you're not going to get the 120,000. Now, something unexpected may happen. Somebody may run into the back of you and crunch your car, and you got to get rid of it earlier, like a lightning strike at a pump station. That could shorten the life of things. Same thing in utilities. You put in a pipe, that pipe could be good for 40 years, maybe 50 years. But you got to maintain that. And so as part of that asset management approach is you set up preventative maintenance, predictive maintenance, so you can decide whether you should make a change on something or you can extend that change out because it's still in good condition, when to rehab, and when you have to replace. Replacement is your bigger cost. And so we put into place, we have hydrogen sulfide issues here, and we have corrosion of pipes here. So we put in maintenance procedures and treatment procedures to counteract that issue of corrosion and deterioration of the pipes. If you don't do that, you're not going to get the full life out of your asset. So that's all part of some of the things that we share together of who's doing what, how you're doing it, who you're using, what is it costing you. We can share that kind of information. That's one of the nice things about this technical group and the task force that's building very strongly here in Pinellas County.
Excellent. Sure.
So I want to make sure that nobody thinks that we are blaming past directors and engineers for not taking care of the problem. I want to give you an example. 10, 15 years ago, we didn't have the smartphones we had now, so therefore we didn't have the tools to do what we're able to do now. The same is for our industry. We have tools now with the advancement of technology. We have tools now to really do that kind of predictive modeling that Irv spoke about that in the past was not easy to do. And so therefore, it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we stay on top of the advances in technology and use the tools to the best of our ability so that we can continue to move forward in keeping our life cycle costs down and making sure these facilities last as long as they were designed to last.
Thank you. Mayor?
Commissioner, when I first got on the Clearwater City Council, we were talking about consolidating sheriff's departments with our police departments or fire departments. It's funny that here we are today, and we've really made a lot of progress, and I want to thank you on behalf of the city of Clearwater, and I'm sure all the other municipalities, because your leadership, last year brought this task force together, and now we're talking about a countywide stormwater and sewer response system, and I think our citizens need that and appreciate that. So thank you to yourself and to the commissioners who are working on this, and obviously our technical committee. Could I ask a question and a clarification, please? One of the slides had something about the Fourth Amendment, and I was wondering if you might be able to explain that for us, because that's probably something that we would have to deal with too.
Yes, sir. Thank you for asking that. So the private laterals are on private property, and they are owned by the citizen who owns that property. And the Fourth Amendment protects us as citizens from unreasonable search and seizure by the government. One of the ways that is the best way to inspect these private laterals is to run a camera up into the lateral to inspect it. And we as government, municipalities and so forth, we have the capability of when we're running the cameras down our lines, we could easily run them up into the private laterals to inspect them at the same time. But when we do that, then we need to make sure we do it in such a way that we do not violate the rights of those private citizens to unreasonable search and seizure. And so it's not so much that we believe that doing that would be a violation, but we just want to make sure that we show the citizens that the programs we have set up to do those inspections give them all the rights that are guaranteed to them by the Fourth Amendment. So that's what that issue is about.
Any other comments? No? And we appreciate your kind words at the beginning of that question. And the entire commission, the county commission, is incredibly supportive of this. And we have the strong support of our county administrator, Mr. Woodard, who's here, and all our professional staff to really make this work. But I appreciate your kind words. Question in the back?
Good afternoon. My name is Eric Jewett. I'm a lifetime resident here and a current student. I did have a question, or maybe it's considered a comment. When you're talking about the education, the gentleman brought up the Pinellas County school systems. I'm fully in support of that. Making sure to get these kids started early in teaching the home, but also using the social media to get the word out. But I also want to encourage that there's a way to get that information back to you guys through social media. Social media is great for disseminating, but it's also great for taking in that information. And when we have hundreds of thousands of citizens here that are on social media daily that can give you guys near real-time data of this information to make sure, because I'm on Twitter, I'm on social media, I see a lot of these reports, but a lot of agencies and whatnot are great at pushing out, but they're not great at receiving any feedback back to.
I will tell you, that's one of the things that is a challenge, but it's also an opportunity. When we look at the communications world right now, one of the things that we're doing in St. Petersburg is really reaching out via Nextdoor. We have a very robust and engaged electorate in our city with neighborhoods, and they love that app. It's a great way for them to connect with us, and we're really emphasizing with a lot of our residents to take advantage of the See, Click, Fix program, where you can take a picture of an incident that you might see, a pothole or an overflow or just a leak somewhere and wondering what it is. We get that to the right people and it gets fixed very quickly, and we can document, you know, that sort of fixing as it goes through. So that's become a really big tool, but that's just two of myriad apps that are out there that engage and connect both ways.
And your point on education is incredibly relevant. And we have not only countywide through the school district, but also through your individual schools that are in your cities.
Absolutely.
And I remember it was years ago, Madeira Beach Middle School, one of their teachers really was one of the leaders and champions of putting the labels on the corner drains. Don't dump, you know, goes from here to the bay kind of thing. And the students really bought into it and got excited about it and learned a lot about it as well. I also want to take a moment to recognize Commissioner Karen Seal, who's arrived. We appreciate you being here as well. Question over here. Oh, and I'm sorry. Our chair, Commissioner Janet Long, is also here. Thank you for being here, Commissioner. Commissioner.
Yeah, Mayor Kritikos, thank you for those comments, and they really are well directed at Charlie. Thank you, Charlie, for that initiative last year. And really, this is just a great conversation from the panel, but also from some of the comments that have been made. I really commend everybody for taking time to be out here. And as you guys are looking at things as regards to the legal aspects, I'd also encourage you to perhaps have somebody looking at financial options for the residents who may find themselves in a position to all of a sudden, I don't know what the cost might be, maybe $5,000, $6,000, which when you're, like you say, we invest in everything above the ground, happily, well not happily, but we do it. Below the ground, we just kind of take for granted. So I think that's going to be an important part of the solution here. If we're going to get half of the problem, if that is the problem, taken care of for all of our residents, that's going to be a key piece of this too. So keep that in mind, maybe have a parallel discussion going. Thank you for all of your efforts and service.
Thank you, Commissioner. Comments about the laterals and what is the average cost for a lateral upgrade or replacement?
Thank you, Commissioner. It depending on the size of the lot, it can be $3,000, $5,000. If you've got a very large piece of property, it could be up to $10,000 to $15,000. So it is not cheap. And Commissioner, to your point, we are looking very closely at, that's what we're calling our incentives, ways that we can help the homeowner finance and afford these changes, because we know that most likely the oldest homes might also have people living in it who have been living there for 50 years, maybe now on a limited income, and that kind of repair is prohibitive for them. And so we're going to be coming back, in addition to the legal aspects, we'll be coming back to you with a variety of different ideas to make it an incentive, a financial incentive. And then there's going to be those folks who, no matter what, they're not going to want to do it. And so that's why we are also going to include the stick in there. Not that we want to use it. It'll be the last resort, but sometimes we have to have that ability to encourage people through positive reinforcement, but if have to, through the stick. Thank you.
Next question.
I'm sorry, I just had one more quick follow-up with the concerning education. Please don't forget your businesses out there, your big box stores, your plumbing stores and stuff like that, where they can actually get out the word to more folks working at Lowe's for several years. I know we discussed fertilizer bans almost every June 1st till about September 30th of why that was important in trying to educate them. So please don't forget about them, because they can be a great source for you guys getting the word out as well.
Very good. Thank you, Eric. Further questions?
I'm Mark Woodard with Pinellas County, and I too would like to thank the steering committee and the task force for your hard work. I know well how devoted you've been to this work. I'm very proud of the collaboration and particularly proud of the accomplishments that you've made to date and those that I know that you will make going forward. And I truly do believe that what you've done here is a model of collaboration that we can apply to other issues, challenges, and opportunities that we have throughout our community in the future. So thank you again for your hard work and dedication.
Thank you, Mr. Woodard. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. So many questions here, and such a great discussion. Thank you all for working on this this project over the period of time. The thing that I haven't heard much talk about is funding. Is our normal rate review process, does that create the sinking funds that are needed for the infrastructure repairs that are coming up in the future? Is that built into your normal rate structure, or are we going to have some surprises in the future that we need to be beginning to address now?
Mr. Keddy, would you like to jump on that one?
Thank you. Sewer utilities and many stormwater utilities are called enterprise funds, enterprise operations, which means they're like small businesses. So where the library and the parks and rec, the police department and fire department, they get their money from the general fund, and that money for the most part comes from property taxes, and some other small amount comes from service taxes as well. But sewer and stormwater enterprise operations get their money from billing people for those services. And so cities and counties have that opportunity to raise or lower those rates based upon their needs. Most of us keep we call a capital improvement plan, which generally is about a 5-year period, and we try to plan out large projects that cost lots of money during that. We also keep a budget that's our annual operating budget. So what we have to do every year when we prepare our budgets, and most of us are coming towards the end of that, we haven't already finished that, for the next year, is that we try to evaluate what our costs are going to be. And then we recommend that change in the budget, change in the rates. City of Largo uses a rate consultant to look at all of our needs and how much money we have in reserves in our funds and how much money we're going to need, and then determine whether or not we have to raise the rates or decrease the rates, and then we take that to the elected officials for our representative communities, and they make the final decision to either approve or disapprove that. You can't fix everything at one time. You know, I tell people, you know, we're in the sewer business. It's an expensive business. Something needs to be done. It's a lot of money, big things. These are big. That storage tank I showed you the picture of, it's $1.5 million just for the construction. Doesn't include the design work. It doesn't include all the big 30-inch pipes that's got to get the sewage to it. It doesn't include the electrical cost that it's going to be to run that and keep it stirred and oxygenated so it doesn't stink all over the place, the whole community. So those are this big money we're talking about. So each community has to make their decisions on how fast they want to go based on what their needs are and how critical their needs are. Sometimes you can put things off for a year, 2 years, maybe 5 years, but sometimes you can't. You have to address it before it fails. We don't want failing sewer systems in our community because that's the most expensive way to address anything is when it's an emergency. Now you're paying emergency repair or replacement costs.
It's like a car.
So I'm not sure if that helps, especially for people who are not, been exposed to this very much. But it is a balancing act, and I think that here in Pinellas County, I've worked for a number of different municipalities here as well as the county, and it's always impressive the people who address these financial issues, There's money that can be borrowed from the state at very low interest rates. Of course, you have to have the ability to pay that back or raise your rate so you can pay that back. Again, you can't go into such debt on everything that you can't afford to pay it back, or you put your municipality at risk. So it's a tough balancing act, but each community has to decide on that themselves.
Ms. Kim?
Yes, Clyde mentioned earlier that we have much better tools now than we've had in the past to really get a better assessment of the condition of our infrastructure. And what those tools are going to be able to allow us to do is plan our capital projects much farther in advance of a potential failure. And we at Pinellas County Utilities did have a force main failure in Palm Harbor, a 30-inch failure. We did have to respond to it as an emergency repair and put in temporary bypass piping and then ultimately fix that pipe. And that was a very expensive project, very expensive unplanned project. But as a result of that, we've learned some things, and we are using some of the more advanced inspection tools. We just completed inspection of the 42-inch pipe that I think Irv mentioned, or Clyde mentioned earlier, and we've been able to determine that there is a potential, there is corrosion, and there's a potential for that pipe to lose the integrity. So we're planning that repair now and on a fast track basis, but not on an emergency basis. So that's just an example of how we can plan out work better. Yes, we may be identifying more projects that need to be done, but hopefully we'll be able to plan those in a very systematic way rather than an emergency basis where we could potentially be charged five times the price of a normal planned project. So I think that will really help us, along with some of the enterprise asset management tools that will allow us to weigh risk and consequences and how we can best plan out our capital improvement programs, not just 1-2 years out into the future, but 10 years or more into the future. And that will help us balance that capital spend and look for ways that we can manage our limited resources.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate that question about funding because it is something that we deal with a lot. I've been in the industry coming up now in 30 years, and what I found is that during times of economic instability or a recession or a downturn, we tend to not want to increase the rates to meet the demand and the needs, and that's understandable. But during the Great Recession, we saw something else happen, and that was not only were we unable to raise the rates, but we actually were losing customers. We had people leaving Florida, which meant now there were fewer people paying for the system that was already in the ground, but they were paying for that system. And as we can see with everything else in terms of life cycle costs, if you have a piece of infrastructure that may deteriorate on a 1% per year basis for a long time, as it approaches the end of its useful life, that deterioration rate goes from 1% per year maybe to 10% per year. So if we go for 3, 4, 5 years keeping rates low, recognizing that it's hard on our customers, what we're doing is we're digging ourselves into a really big hole of trying to catch up once the economy improves. And so we end up having to raise the rates a heck of a lot more instead of raising them maybe 1, 2% a year, even during the hard times. When we get to those good times, quote unquote good times, we might have to raise them 10, 20% in one fell swoop. And that's very, very difficult for our citizens. So the tools that we've talked about are allowing us to have a better idea of life cycle costs that we can then bring to you as the policymakers and the decision makers to show you the scenarios of what if we don't raise rates this year, but we have to raise them next year? What if we wait 3 years? What if we do it now equally across the years over the next 5 years? And so the funding is always going to be a challenge in that regard.
Anyone else? Mr. Archie?
One other side of this whole thing is also the stormwater side. We fund projects very differently. Some of us do it through our stormwater utility, and some of us primarily rely on on the penny funds. And I know the county, under the next penny, would propose to spend a lot of money on fixing the stormwater issues that contribute to the sanitary sewer overflows. So, you know, that was one of when we went out through public engagement and trying to see what people would like to see this money being spent on, that was one of the key areas. And a lot of the work we're doing as this task force will help define those projects some more.
Thank you. Further questions? We've got time for maybe one or two more. All right. I'd like to give the panel an opportunity if you want to have a 30-second final thought of the day. We'll start with Ms. Kim.
I just want to thank everyone for being here and supporting our efforts and encouraging our efforts. It's truly appreciated. It has been a lot of work, and we do have day jobs, but it's been reaping so many benefits and very strong working relationships. And we keep using the word collaboration, but I can't use that enough. It truly has been a partnership, and I know it will continue to be a partnership that will help us improve infrastructure and living conditions here in Pinellas County for all of our citizens. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Logan.
I just want to thank everybody for helping bring me up to speed. 8 months ago, I was still pointing at H's and L's on the weather map and saying whether or not it was going to rain. This has been a great education for me. I'd like to thank my colleagues from Pinellas County and the other municipalities who are here who have helped me in this public education role, because there is a lot to learn. And I think that we've got the really good parts and pieces here to tell a story that's going to be successful all around as we do come through what could have been summed up as a crisis, but I think now is a real opportunity to grow together as a community.
Just everything what they said. Plus, you know, it's nice to not just engage the wastewater side or just the water side, but opening up the whole box to everybody. You know, bringing the stormwater partners to the table, the procurement people at the table. So, you know, more to come, and we've accomplished a lot. So I'm personally very proud to be part of this team.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So we talked about collaboration, and one of the big goals of this team is to make sure we're not only collaborating among ourselves, but we're collaborating with our customers and our citizens, and we're collaborating with the elected officials and the policymakers to make sure that we are treating this as a one issue. And speaking of the word one of the things that in our industry is now really starting to take off is the idea that we really don't have wastewater, potable water, reclaimed water, stormwater, but it's one water, one water. And it's all interconnected and it's all intertied, and we have to treat it like that to maximize the benefits to us, but also to protect our environment and our way of life. Thank you.
Mr. Ketty.
I want you all to know that behind us and the other utility directors here, there are wonderful staffs who help us put all this together. They have insights that we used to get because we used to be out in the front line, you know? But they see it right at the front. And it's so important for everybody to recognize they're the people who see it first and bring it to our attention. It's not just the public. They often talk to the public first. So they're our messengers. They bring the information back. They help set the priorities for what needs to be fixed immediately based on what they've seen. And so just wanted to recognize them as well, because without them, we're just people who get together and talk and think what the problem is. They bring up what the problem really is. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Excellent points. Before we do close for the day, I don't know if you've heard, but the penny for Pinellas is up for renewal this year. Have you heard that? And we've talked about funding, and we've talked about the potential use for the penny for those infrastructure projects. And before we leave today, we have a treat. We have a video to show you, if we could cue that up, on the potential funding for these projects with the penny. very much. That was Commissioner Seal on the keyboards, by the way, if you're wanting to. And we'll be distributing that. That'll be available on our website, and obviously we'll be sharing that through social media as well for you and for you to be able to share it as well. I want to thank you all for being here today. I want to thank our steering committee members. I want to thank especially our technical work group and the panelists today. And thank you for being here and being interested. And we'll keep you updated. Thank you very much for being here. Have a great day.